Pain is the ultimate catalyst. It's raw, it demands your attention, and yet, most people spend their entire lives trying to avoid it, numbing it, denying it, running from it. But the truth is, pain is not your enemy. Pain is the signal. It's the wake-up call. It's the one thing that will never lie to you. And if you learn to lean into it instead of hiding from it, pain becomes the birthplace of your power. Think about it. Every major breakthrough you've ever had, every moment where you truly leveled up, what was right before it? Pain, discomfort, frustration. Maybe it was heartbreak. Maybe it was failure. Maybe you hit a wall so hard you couldn't breathe. And in that moment, something clicked. You got tired of your own excuses. You got angry enough to make a change. That wasn't weakness. That was power in its purest form. You just didn't know it yet. Most people think strength is built when everything is going right. But real strength is forged in the fire. It's born when you're on your knees, when you think there's no way out and somehow you rise. That's not theory. That's biology. When the nervous system is tested, when it's forced to adapt, to overcome, it evolves. You grow stronger, you develop grit, you build resilience, but only if you stop resisting the process. Because here's the truth, most people don't want to facing pain as part of life. It's coming for all of us. You don't get to skip it, but you do get to choose what it means. You can let it define you, or you can let it refine you. You can carry it like a curse, or you can use it like a tool. The choice is yours, but you have to make it consciously. Otherwise, pain will still shape you, but it'll do it in the dark, silently, slowly, and one day you'll look around and not even recognize who you've become, because you never took control of what that pain could teach you. See, pain has a voice, and it's not whispering. It's screaming. It's telling you what matters. It's showing you what's missing. It's begging you to pay attention to the areas of your life that aren't aligned, aren't growing, aren't serving you anymore. Pain is feedback. Pure data, the most honest kind you'll ever get. And if you're brave enough to listen, really listen, you'll find your path in the very place you were trying to avoid. You've probably heard the phrase, life is happening for you, not to you. But it's not just some inspirational quote to post on Instagram. It's reality, if you choose to live that way. Because even your darkest moments carry seeds of strength. Your biggest heartbreak carries the blueprint for your breakthrough. But only if you dig. Only if you're willing to extract the lesson instead of just reliving the suffering. Some people get addicted to their pain. They wear it like an identity. It becomes a story. I was abandoned. I was betrayed. I failed. And the story becomes a shield. It keeps them from trying again, from risking, from opening their heart. But if your pain becomes your story, and your story becomes your identity, you're trapped. You've handed over the keys to your life, but you can flip the script. You can turn pain into fuel. You can use it as a launching pad, you're not a landing place. And it starts by asking different questions. Not, why did this happen to me? But, what is this trying to teach me? Not, how do I get out of this? But who do I have to become to get through it? Those are the questions that transform you. Those are the questions that unlock your next level. There's a reason why the most powerful people you've ever met have walked through fire. There's a reason they seem unshakable. It's not because life was easier for them. It's because they stopped asking for life to be easier and started getting stronger. They stopped avoiding the pain and started using it. They looked their demons in the face and said, "You don't get to run this show anymore." And that kind of strength, that kind of certainty, it's not inherited, it's earned. Through pain, through process, through the moments when nobody's watching and you choose to keep showing up anyway. And here's the paradox, once you stop running from pain, it stops controlling you. Once you face it, own it, use it. Pain becomes your ally. Because when you've survived what you thought would break you, what's left to fear? What can touch you when you've already rebuilt yourself from nothing? So stop trying to hide your scares. They're not signs of weakness. They're proof you healed. They're proof you made it. And they're the foundation you'll stand on the next time life tries to knock you down. Pain isn't the end of the story. It's the beginning of the real one. The one where you stop playing small. The one where you remember who the hell you are. The one where nothing can shake you because you've already been through the fire and come out stronger. People think change takes time, that it's some slow climb, some 5-year plan, some long drawn-out process with perfect conditions, aligned stars, and outside permission. But that's not how change actually works. Change doesn't take years. Change happens in an instant, the moment you decide it's no longer acceptable to stay the same. It's not time that changes people. It's decisions. Real, raw, cut through the noise decisions. The kind where you hit a line in the sand and you say, that's it. No more. This ends now. That's the moment everything shifts. But most people never get because they don't make a real decision. They make a preference, a wish, a maybe. I want to lose weight. I want to be successful. I want a better relationship. But wanting isn't deciding. Hoping isn't committing. A decision means you cut off every other possibility. That's what the word means, to cut, to eliminate the option of going back. And when you decide, truly decide, your nervous system reorients, your psychology recalibrates, and your future rewires. But here's the kicker, most people are waiting. They're waiting for a sign, for the perfect moment, for certainty, for someone else to tell them it's okay to leap. They're standing at the edge of the cliff, looking at their next level, and instead of jumping, they start negotiating with their fears. And fear always has one message: not yet. But here's the truth. If you keep waiting for the fear to go away before you act, you'll be waiting for the rest of your life. Fear doesn't leave. You get louder than it, and you get louder when you get clear. When you decide, a real decision cuts through noise. It's not rational. It's not polite. It doesn't ask for permission. It's primal. It comes from something deeper than logic. It's when your soul stands up and takes over. That's when you change. Not when someone gives you a 10-step plan. Not when the calendar flips. You change the second you stop negotiating with your limitations and start demanding something more from yourself. People think their life will change when something external shifts. When they make more money. When they find the right person. When the world settles down. But those are all conditions. External circumstances. And they have nothing to do with transformation. Because transformation is internal. It's about who you decide to become. Regardless of what's happening outside you. The people who shape history, the people who rewrite their story, don't do it because conditions were ideal. They do it in the middle of chaos. They do it in the storm. They do it because they decided that what's inside them was stronger than what was around them. You're one decision away from a completely different life. That's not hype. That's real. One decision to stop tolerating the story you've been telling yourself. One decision to raise your standard. One decision to face the truth you've been avoiding. Everything you want is on the other side of that decision. But you have to own it. You have to stop waiting for the breakthrough and start being the breakthrough. That happens when you draw the line. When you stop saying, maybe someday, and start saying, this is the moment. And the truth is, you already know what that decision is. Deep down, the thing you've been avoiding. The conversation you haven't had. The habit you know you need to kill. The vision you've been shrinking. You don't need more information. You need to decide that you're not going to live another day out of alignment with who you really are. You don't need more time. You need a moment. And that moment is now. Because the longer you wait, the heavier it gets. The longer you delay, the more you reinforce the lie that you can't change. That lie becomes your prison. And every time you feed it, it gets stronger. The only way to break it is with a decision so sharp, so certain, that the old story doesn't even recognize you anymore. Change doesn't happen when it's convenient. It happens when it becomes a must. When the pain of staying the same finally outweighs the fear of doing something different. That's the tipping point. That's when you move. That's when the excuses melt. That's when your mind, your body, your spirit, all align in one direction. That's when you become unstoppable. And here's what most people never realize: when you make that kind of decision, the universe reorganizes around you. You start to see opportunities you were blind to. You attract people who match your new energy. You act in ways you didn't think were possible because your identity shifts. And identity is destiny. You're not just deciding to act, you're deciding to become. That's why it's so powerful. Because a true decision doesn't just change your schedule, it changes your identity. It upgrades the way you see yourself. And when you see yourself differently, you show up differently, you speak differently, you move, and the world responds in kind. Most people never change, not because they can't, but because they don't decide. They flirt with change. They dabble in it. But transformation doesn't come to dabblers. It comes to the committed. The ones who say, I don't care what it takes. I don't care how long it takes. I will burn the boats, and I will figure it out. That kind of resolve, that changes the game. You don't need more time. You don't need more motivation. You need to choose. And once you do, once that decision locks in, not the surface level one, but the soul level decision, your life will never be the same, because you'll finally understand that the power was never out there. It was always inside you. waiting, locked behind a door called, "I haven't decided yet." You are not broken. You are not damaged. You're not some flawed piece of existence waiting to be fixed. You are in motion. You are evolving. You are becoming something bigger, you bolder, stronger than you were yesterday. But if you've been through hell, and let's be real, most people have, you've been taught to believe that the pain made you defective, that the heartbreak made you less than, that the mistakes, the failures, the moments where you didn't measure up somehow made you unworthy. But that's not truth. That's a lie dressed up in emotion. The truth is all of it. Every scar, every fall, every mess you thought disqualified you was part of the process of becoming who you were always meant to be. We live in a world obsessed with perfection. Everyone wants to look like they have it all figured out. Everyone wants to post the highlight reel, but no one wants to talk about the nights they couldn't sleep, the days they questioned everything, the chapters where they had no idea who they were or where they were going. But those chapters matter. Those chapters build you. They strip away everything false. They burn off the masks. They force you to meet the real you. Not the version you try to be for others. The one you actually are when everything else falls away. That's not weakness. That's the beginning of authenticity. That's where the shift starts. Because the truth is, growth isn't pretty. It's messy. It's violent. It's uncomfortable. Becoming isn't a gentle path. It's a radical one. You outgrow people. You shed identities. You start seeing through the illusions you used to believe in. That's not you falling apart. That's you stepping into alignment. The cocoon doesn't look beautiful from the outside. It looks like death. It looks like silence. But inside, something extraordinary is happening. The caterpillar is dissolving everything it was in order to become what it was destined to be. Not fixing itself. Not improving a broken system. Becoming new. That's you. That's what's happening in your life. Even if it doesn't make sense right now. Somewhere along the way, someone convinced you that struggle meant failure. That if it was hard, you must be doing it wrong. But what if struggle is the evidence that you're doing something right? What if the pressure, the friction, the discomfort is actually the signal that you're breaking through layers that don't belong to you anymore? You don't build strength in comfort. You don't find clarity when everything is easy. Becoming happens in the fire. It happens when you're willing to sit in the unknown, to keep moving even when it hurts, to keep trusting even when it's dark. You're not broken for feeling lost. You're not weak for feeling overwhelmed. You're human, and being human means navigating the tension between who you were and who you're becoming. It means making peace with your pile, refusing to let it define your future. Every version of you that came before, the one who didn't know better, the one who made the wrong choice, the one who stayed too long, the one who was afraid to speak, those versions weren't failures. They were steps. They were necessary. Because you can't become the highest version of yourself without first facing the parts of you that were built to survive instead of thrive. But the shift happens when you stop seeing those parts as shameful and start seeing them as sacred. When you understand that your defense mechanisms weren't weaknesses, they were strategies that kept you alive. But just because something helped you survive doesn't mean it's meant to stay forever. At some point, survival mode becomes the cage. And becoming requires that you break the walls, even if you built them, especially if you built them. That's where your power lies. In the decision to evolve, in the decision to release the identity that was shaped by pain and consciously create one shaped by purpose. You get to decide what your story means. You get to choose who you become next. You are not sentenced to stay the same, no matter what's happened, no matter who left, no matter how long it's been. Any point you can say, this is the moment I rewrite the narrative. This is the moment I stop seeing myself as broken and start seeing myself as rebuilding. This is the moment I stop disqualifying myself from greatness because of what I've been through and start using what I've been through as proof that I'm qualified. Because let's be clear, resilience isn't something you're born with. It's something you earn in the dark. It's the quiet decision to keep standing after everything to knock you down. It's the fire in your gut that says, I don't know what's next, but I'm not staying here. That's becoming. That's evolution. And it doesn't happen overnight, but it can happen in a moment. The moment you stop looking at yourself through the lens of shame and start seeing yourself through the lens of potential. You are not a project. You are a masterpiece in motion. You are not defined by your trauma, your mistakes, your fears. You are revealed by how you rise from them. The world has enough people pretending to be perfect. What it needs is more people willing to own their process. People brave enough to say, I'm still becoming. I don't have it all figured out. But I'm not giving up. I'm not backing down. I'm building something real, starting with myself. That kind of authenticity, that kind of ownership, that's unshakable. That's the foundation everything else is built on. Your mind is the most powerful force you will ever have access to. Not your bank account, not your body, not your reputation. It's your mind. And yet most people walk around with it completely untrained, unguarded, and undirected, like a loaded weapon spinning in every direction, shooting at everything, hitting nothing, and eventually turning on its owner. But when you finally learn how to aim it, how to focus it, how to command it, everything changes. Not just what you do, but who you are. Because your mind doesn't just influence your actions, it creates your reality. Everything begins with a thought. Every breakthrough, every collapse, every win, every loss. Before anything shows up in your external world, it has already been alive in your internal world. That means your outer world is just a reflection of your inner conditioning. What you tolerate, what you chase, what you sabotage, it all starts in the 6 inches between your ears. That's the battlefield. That's where your life is won or lost. Not out there, in here. So the question is, are you running your mind, or is your mind running you? Most people never stop to ask that. They think they are their thoughts. They believe every voice in their head, every fear, every story, every limiting belief that says, you're not enough. It's too late. You don't have what it takes. They let those thoughts become the law. But thoughts are not facts. Thoughts are choices. And until you take ownership of that, you'll keep living inside a script you didn't even write. You'll react instead of respond. You'll spiral instead of rise. Because the mind, left on autopilot, will always default to survival. And survival is not the same as success. The mind is designed to protect you, not to empower you. Its job is to keep you safe, to conserve energy, to avoid risk. That's biology. That's evolution. But if you don't challenge that system, if you don't override that default, you'll stay trapped in the loop. The loop of fear. The loop of procrastination. The loop of waiting for clarity before you move, instead of moving until you create clarity. You'll mistake comfort for peace. You'll confuse safety with purpose. And that's how dreams die quietly. Buried beneath a million rational, sounding lies your mind whisper while trying to keep you small. But here's the breakthrough: your mind is programmable. It's moldable. It's trainable. You are not at the mercy of your wiring. You can rewire. You can take that weapon and point it at the life you actually want to build. But that doesn't happen by accident. It takes intention. It takes repetition. It takes waking up every day and deciding what you're going to think, what you're going to believe, you're going to focus on, and then defending that focus like your life depends on it. Because it does. Where focus goes, energy flows. That's not just a nice phrase. It's a law. Whatever you obsess over expands. Whatever you fear gets fed. Whatever you believe becomes your reality, not because it's objectively true, but because you act in alignment with it. That's how powerful the mind is. If you believe you're not good enough, you'll find evidence to support it. If you believe you're unstoppable, you'll create results that reinforce it. The brain loves consistency between belief and behavior. So if you want to change your behavior, start by changing the belief behind it. That's why language matters. That's why internal dialogue matters. The words you say to yourself are not harmless. They are programming your nervous system. Every time you say, I can't, I always mess this up, I'm not that kind of person, your subconscious locks that in as truth, not because it is true, but because you said it with certainty. Certainty programs the system. Certainty creates patterns. That means you have to take responsibility for every thought that crosses the threshold of your mind. You have to become the gatekeeper. You have to challenge every belief that doesn't serve the vision you're building. If your mind is a weapon, then focus is the trigger. What you focus on, you feel. Focus on what's wrong, you feel powerless. Focus on what's missing, you feel lack. Focus on what's possible, you feel momentum. Focus on what's in your control, you feel strength. Focus is not about ignoring reality. It's about choosing which part of reality you're going to magnify. Because your nervous system doesn't respond to the world. It responds to the world you focus on. And that means in every moment, you have the power to shift your experience by shifting your attention. This is not about positive thinking. This is about intentional thinking, strategic thinking. This is about using the full capacity of your mind as a tool for transformation instead of a trap. Because an undirected mind becomes a playground for insecurity, doubt, and fear. But a directed mind, that's a weapon. That's a force. That's the kind of mind that can build a business, lead a movement, heal a legacy, change a life. You don't need to eliminate every negative thought to change your life. You need to stop feeding them. Stop entertaining them. Stop giving them the microphone. Start replacing them with thoughts that build, not break. Thoughts that serve, not sabotage. You are the thinker of the thought, not the thought itself. That means you have the final say. Everybody talks about goals. The books, the seminars, the vision boards, they all push the same ideal set goals. Chase them, crush them. And yes, goals are powerful. They give you direction. They give your actions a target. But goals alone don't shape your life. Standards do, because you don't always hit your goals, but you will always hit your standards. Your standards are the invisible rules you live by. The non-negotiables. The internal thermostat that decides how you show up, what you accept, and what level you play at. Not when it's convenient, but every single day. You can set a goal to be fit, but if your standard is, I work out when I feel like it, guess what's going to happen? You won't follow through, because your goal is high but your standard is low. You can set a goal to build wealth, but if your standard is, I only do what's easy or I avoid hard conversations, then your habits will never match that goal, and that's the disconnect. People think they're failing because their dreams are too big, but that's not the problem. The problem is that their standards are too small. There's a gap between what they want and what they tolerate. Your life right now is a direct reflection of your standards, not your potential, not your goals, not even your talent. It's what you consistently tolerate. It's what you accept in your body, in your finances, in your relationships, in your mindset. You get what you settle for. If you have chaos, it's because your standard allows for it. If you're underperforming, it's because you've made peace with underperforming. Harsh, maybe. But it's also the most freeing truth there is. Because it puts the power back in your hands. You don't have to wait for motivation, for the market to change, for someone else to give you permission. You just have to raise your standard. That shift is internal. It doesn't start with an action. It starts with a decision. You draw the line. You say, this is who I am now. This is what I accept. This is the level I play at. And the moment you do that, your life starts to reorganize itself. You start saying no to things that don't align. You stop making excuses. You start taking action, not because it's easy or exciting, but because it's who you are. That's the power of a standard. It's identity driven. You don't try to reach it. You are it. It's not a finish line. It's your baseline. High achievers don't succeed because they have better goals. They succeed because they have different standards. They have rituals, disciplines, values they hold themselves to even when nobody's watching, especially when nobody's watching. They don't rise to the occasion. They fall to the level of their training. That training isn't random. It's shaped by their standards. They've decided that anything less than excellence is unacceptable, not because they're perfectionists, but because they've made excellence their minimum, not their maximum. This applies to every area of your life. Take relationships. You can want a loving, passionate, deep connection, but if your standard is, I settle for attention over respect, or I tolerate being treated like an option, you'll never experience that depth. You'll keep attracting what matches your standard, not your desire. Same with your business. You can want to be a leader, but if your standard is, I show up when I'm in the mood, or I avoid tough decisions, you're not building leadership. You're building a house of cards. It will collapse under pressure because your foundation isn't your vision. It's your comfort zone. Raising your standard means breaking your own rules, challenging your own excuses, saying, I know I've done it this way before, but that version of me no longer runs the show. It means creating a new identity, one rooted in strength, integrity, discipline, hunger. And that identity becomes the filter for everything. What you say yes to, what you walk away from, how you spend your time, how you treat your body, what kind of people you surround yourself with. All of it is shaped by what you now believe you deserve. But let's be clear, raising your standard isn't about hype. It's not about writing something bold on a whiteboard and calling it a day. It's about backing it up with behavior, daily. When it's hard, when it's inconvenient, when no one is clapping, that's when standards are either revealed or abandoned. Anyone can talk big. Few are willing to hold the line when no one is watching. But that's where character is built. That's where breakthroughs happen. In the dark, in the repetition, in the moments that look like nothing, but shape everything. You don't rise to your dreams, you rise to your standards. So if your life isn't where you want it to be, don't just set new goals. Audit your standards. Ask yourself, what have I been tolerating that's keeping me stuck? What have I normalized that's quietly killing my momentum? What story have I bought into that justifies my current results? And then decide, truly decide, that from this moment on, your standards will match your vision, not your fears, not your past, your vision. Because when you raise your standards, your habits follow, your circle upgrades, your environment shifts, your results start to reflect a new level of ownership. That's not a fluke, it's alignment. That's the invisible power that turns ordinary into unstoppable. You can have the right mindset, the right skills, the right strategy, but if you're in the wrong environment, you will suffocate. You will shrink. You will start questioning what you once knew to be true. Because energy is contagious. Beliefs are contagious. Standards are contagious. And if the people around you don't challenge you, support you, inspire you, then they are draining you. Period. Proximity is power. Who you surround yourself with is either pulling you forward or pulling you under. There is no neutral ground. Your environment isn't just the place you live. It's the people you interact with, the voices you listen to, the content you consume, the energy you allow into your space. Every part of your environment is either feeding your vision or feeding your doubt. And most people never stop to evaluate that. They assume they're stuck because of a lack of opportunity or talent or resources. But more often than not, it's their environment that's keeping them boxed in. You cannot grow in a place that keeps rewarding your old identity. You cannot evolve in a space that punishes your ambition. If the people around you are threatened by your growth, they're not your people. If they mock your goals, question your confidence, or minimize your progress, they're not neutral. They're poison. You may love them. You may have history. But history doesn't equal destiny. You can love someone and still outgrow them. You can appreciate your past without dragging it into your future. And if your vision matters, if your purpose matters, you have to get ruthless about who gets access to your energy. This doesn't mean cutting everyone off. It doesn't mean becoming cold or self-righteous. It means getting honest. It means asking, does this relationship expand me or deplete me? Do I feel more aligned with my mission after being around this person, or less? Do they speak life into my dreams or drain the life out of them? The answers to those questions will tell you everything. Because your environment is not passive. It's shaping your identity every single day. It's either reinforcing your power or reinforcing your fear. Look at elite performers, top athletes, visionary entrepreneurs, world-class leaders. They all understand this principle. They curate their environments like their lives depend on it. Because they do. They surround themselves with people who play at the level they want to reach. People who challenge their thinking. People who raise the bar. People who refuse to let them settle. That's not an accident. That's strategy. Success doesn't happen in isolation. It happens in ecosystems. And those ecosystems are built with intention, not convenience. You were trained. Convenience is keeping your high school friends who still party every weekend while you're trying to build a legacy. Convenience is staying in a job where everyone complains because you're afraid to walk away from the group chat. Convenience is going home for the holidays and pretending to be a smaller version of yourself so you don't make anyone uncomfortable. But greatness isn't born in convenience, it's born in courage. The courage to saying, I'm not shrinking anymore. I'm not apologizing for wanting more. I'm not staying quiet just to keep the peace. I'm building something, and that means I need to protect my space. You don't owe anyone access to your energy. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your evolution. The people meant for you will rise with you. They will adapt. They will grow. They will cheer. But if they don't, that's not your problem. That's not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to your future, to your mission, to the version of you that's trying to emerge. And that version of you cannot thrive in an environment built to accommodate your old habits, your old insecurities, your old self. This is why proximity is power. Because you can borrow belief, you can borrow momentum, you can borrow certainty. If you're close enough to the right people, ever had a conversation with someone who made you feel like you could take over the world? That wasn't an accident. That was the power of proximity. That was energy transfer. That was someone with a higher vibration pulling you into their frequency. Imagine if that wasn't a rare moment. Imagine if that was your norm. Imagine if your inner circle was made up of people who spoke like that, moved like that, lived like that. You think you need more motivation. You think you need another breakthrough. But what you really need is to get around people who refuse to let you play small. People who live in alignment with their values. People who show you what's possible by how they show up. Not once in a while, but every day. You don't rise in isolation. You rise in community, in proximity to excellence. in spaces where your greatness is expected, not just encouraged. That means you need to audit your environment the same way you'd audit your finances. Look at your daily inputs. Who are you texting? Who are you listening to? What rooms are you walking into? Do those places expand your thinking or reinforce your limits? Do they challenge your habits or enable your excuses? Every environment comes with an energetic price. And if you're not careful, you'll spend your potential just to stay comfortable. There's a reason certain people experience exponential growth. It's not luck. It's not magic. It's alignment. They put themselves in the environments that stretch them, that demand their best, that challenge their narratives. Because when you're around people playing at a higher level, it becomes harder to lie to yourself. It becomes harder to stay stuck. You rise not because someone told you to, but because staying average becomes unbearable. That's what proximity does. That's what power feels like. It infects you, moves through you, and becomes your new standard without you even realizing it. You will never be the same after this, if you choose not to be, because now you know. You've seen behind the curtain. You've looked your patterns in the face. You've felt the pull of something greater inside you. Something raw, something real, something ready to break through. This isn't about hype. This is about truth. Your story doesn't have to be ruled by your past. Your mind doesn't have to be your prison. Your emotions don't have to control your destiny. You have the power to shift it all, but power unused is power wasted. Power unfocused is power lost. This is the moment you stop talking about change and become the change. Raise your standards. Aim your mind. Master your state. Take ownership of your decisions. Protect your environment. Build your identity brick by brick until your actions can't help but match the vision that's been burning inside you all along. There is no someday. No more waiting for a sign. No more living on autopilot hoping something will save you. You are the sign. You are the answer. You are the force. So burn the old script, cut off the exit, and step fully into the life that's been waiting for you to finally show up. This is the line. This is the decision. This is the shift. And you are never going back.